Well, good evening, Ben. Good evening, Ian, and good evening, everyone else. Welcome to round 8 of our FLR season 9. We are here at the beautiful Suzuka. One of the best tracks, in my opinion, especially one of my absolute top favorites to drive. I don't know how it's going to be from a commentator's standpoint. It might be a little bit more boring because of the lack of overtaking places, but should be fun either way. It's actually, and it looks like it looks to be a little bit cloudy to start this session. It's actually also one of the most unique tracks if you think about it, because it's kind of figure of 8, so it kind of crosses back over itself at one point, which I can't really think of another F1 track which does that right now. The grid appears to be a little bit short for tonight. It looks like it might be actually the smallest grid of the season, but 16 is still a good number, I think. We are missing a few people, most notably Tom, GoPro that is, who is actually in Japan in real life, if I remember correctly. And I think he's gonna be there for, as we see, like 3 cars goes into one another. And he's gonna be there for the next 3 weeks, I think, which will allow everyone else to catch up in the championship, because Tom is leading that currently by quite some margin. If I could tell you by what margin, as Puko joins, so it's going to be the 17th person on the grid. I'd love to tell you how much Tom is leading by, but I can't, because standings have not been updated, which is partly my fault, because I kind of delayed the appeals by a day. But yeah, standings have not been updated, so I know just that Tom has a huge lead. Engine is in second, and it's either Alex Hendricks or Rapid in third, I believe. Alex Hendricks was only 2 points behind Engine heading into Baku, but then he lost a lot of ground because he had just connection issues. One connection issue after the other in Baku last week, and his AI only got like P14. And Engine was running P3 until he had a puncture on the last lap and ended up P7, while Tom took the victory in the feature race for the first time this season. So that's just a short recap of what happened. We're gonna go for a lap of this beautiful Suzuka circuit with the Ferrari of Barnard, who had a bit of an unspectacular race last week. But that's not a bad thing at all. He brought home some points for the red team. As we currently see him navigate the S curves, and he takes a lot of curve there, and that's gonna pick up grass on those left side tires, and that's gonna show him off the line a little bit. Now heading up to Dunlop curve and approaching Degner curve next. Actually, both of those corners are called Degner. There's Degner 1, Degner 2 there. A little bit hesitant on the turn into the second Degner. Now he clips grass again, so he's doing quite a lot of mowing this lap, and he's actually backed off because of the second clip, so clearly didn't think that was gonna be a competitive lap anymore. We got Spartan, I think, taking a second out lap there. He was not using battery at all. We got Ian starting a lap as well. We got Engine, who is Tom's main championship rival, and he needs to perform well over these races when Tom is absent if he wants to have a chance of reclaiming that championship. Obviously reclaiming, because Engine has been a champion with us before. It's just been a few seasons. Season 5 he won his driver's championship in, and season 5 finished almost 10 months ago now, so it's been quite a bit of time for Engine that he's been off the top of the championship. Into the final chicane, a little bit hesitant on the first part and a little bit shaky on the second part, and losing the car a little bit on that exit. but it's gonna go comfortably fastest anyway with a 27.3. Ben was on provisional pole before. We got Josh coming in with a 29.6. We got a Haas of Rusty coming across the line and setting a time there as well. Gigi is on an outlap and he's way back there. Rapid now across the line into P2, provisionally 28.2 for the Visa. Good evening, who am I? Good evening, mate. Speaking of who am I, obviously he had a streak of a few race wins in a row earlier this season, but he couldn't keep it going, not because he actually lost a race, but because he's just a reserve and he doesn't need to be here every week. So last week he wasn't here and now he's back in Japan, and you would have to think that he's gonna be the main threat for Engine here tonight at Suzuka, as he now starts the lap in the McLaren, which is kind of unusual. Who am I usually drove Alpines, but he is in the McLaren of the championship leader Tom GoPro. Shooter 1, shooter 2, nothing special so far, but again this is just a bunker. He doesn't have a time on the board yet. Keeping it in 5th gear through the curves. Lifting of the throttle just to ensure that the car remains stable. Not clipping any grass so far that I have seen. He's purple in sector 1, but we know that those purple sectors can be deceiving on F1 25 and on every F1 game, to be honest. Through the hairpin, manages the exit nicely. That's a very nice turn into the hairpin as he now navigates his way through the back part of the circuit, heading now into Spoon. Send it in 6th gear, down to 5th, down to 4th for the exit, and immediately on throttle. Back on battery, now he's on the back straight. And finishing sector 2 now, we'll see if it's purple. It is. Now through 130R. And into the final chicane. He's leaving some margin to the track limits. Just wants to put a time on the board. Should be still the fastest lap comfortably though. It's a 27.0. We see Rapid, who has been there or thereabouts this season. Usually found around P3 to P6. And has also done some nice comeback drives after some mishaps such as spinning early in the race or invalidating in one-shot qualifying. He's struggling with the car just a little bit on the exit of Spoon. You could see that he was not fully over to the right hand side of the track and the car just wanted to snap away slightly. Through 130R, he is almost a tenth and a half up on his bunker. Sending it to the final chicane, but actually sent it a little bit too much and compromised his line for the second part. Car still a little bit shaky on the exit, but he found even more time in the last sector. It was going to be nearly 2.5 tenths improved in the end. Got Spartan coming into the pits. Buko has invalidated. Alex Hendricks currently on an outlap. So for a moment I thought we had 2 new people, but actually we don't really have new people. I mean, you could say that Buko is kind of new, but he was actually in FLR about a year and a half ago now. I think could have been about exactly a year and a half ago now, but he's back. I haven't, to be honest, I haven't actually looked if he is full-time or just a reserve, but he is in the Alpine that Who Am I is usually in. And he's currently making his way through the hairpin, just washing off the racing line slightly there. He was in 2nd gear, which is interesting. I thought Who Am I took that hairpin in 4th gear mostly. Again, not using all the track on the entry or on the exit, so just a little bit conservative on his lap. He has left it a little bit later than other people to do his bunker. One of 3 people do not have a time on the board yet. He now heads down the back straight. Looks like a decent split. He is keeping it at 8th gear through there, no downshift into 130R. Once again down into 2nd, and the car just wanting to snap away, just not really making that apex in the second part of the chicane, so Really, from what I can see, he is a low gear enjoyer, and that sees him about middle of the pack, P10 for now. Puko is now making it to 130R, using a lot of battery there. We'll see how he takes this final chicane. Takes it quite nicely, but once again, another driver not pushing quite the limit yet, and that's gonna be P4, which just like Rapid, Puko has been there or thereabouts throughout this entire season. I don't think he has been on the podium yet, but he was quite close on several occasions. Really, he had about top 5 pace every single track except Mexico. The last person to not have a time on the board yet is the Merc of Alex Hendricks, who, as I said, is either P3 or P4 in the championship. A very consistent driver who usually races much better than he qualifies, which is a nice quality to have, because you don't really have to worry if you do somewhat poorly in the 18-minute session. It's gonna come across the line, and it's nothing of that poor qualifying today. It's P5 for Alex Hendricks. There is some margin to Puko ahead of him, don't get me wrong, it's over 3/10, but he settles in nicely, and that is everyone having at least done a bunker. We see Reza. 18.5, I mean, he's gonna be a rocket ship on that back straight section, and on the section that Reza is now on as well. But exiting the final chicane might be a problem, and the Degners might be a problem as well. Reza is another person like Who Am I, who we are seeing for the first time in 3 weeks, because obviously we had a week break, and then both of these guys missed last week. So they're both back, and Reza is currently improving. It's a minor improvement, but it should give him some confidence heading into the final rounds of the session. Not really taking that curb on the inside of the second part of the chicane. He's gonna run off the deployment quite early, but he had good momentum, so it didn't really matter. And since Ian has prompted me to, and as Who Am I has actually spun, but I think he's gonna save it from the wall. It just remains to be seen how cooked those tires are gonna be. Ian has actually prompted me to speak about wings here a little bit, and there are actually a lot of different approaches, because you see he said that Ben is actually running 18.5 wings, and clearly, oh sorry, not clearly, but probably he feels comfortable. It's probably not a Hail Mary, so those are wings that he feels can work around here. When I myself last did this track in November, I was running something like 25-13 wings, and I kept the engine behind me for like 10 or 12 laps, something like that. He was a lot faster, he was something like 5.6 tenths a lap faster, but once he caught up to me, he just couldn't get past, even with DRS. And you know, what I'm getting at here is that 18.5 is still a lot lower than 25-13 or whatever it was. And those wings that I was running already felt low at the time. So if engine is running the same wings that he did back then, and if other people are running wings around the same that he ran back then, we're gonna have some major differences in setup on this track, where I think it's gonna make for an exciting race. Speaking of Ben, with his 18.5 wings, he's now making it to turn 1 and 2, so we'll see how well that car sticks through the curves, and I think Ian was telling the truth, because you can see that Ben is a lot more conservative on throttle application than other people we've seen through this section. He even had to apply about 15, maybe 20% of brake at one point, which I haven't really seen other drivers do. I haven't seen any brake application through the S-curves. Out of Degner 2. Through the chicane, you can see some rather nice trail braking there. Back on power. Back to the gears. We are approaching the closing stages of short qualifying. You see how much entry curb he takes at Spoon. Actually not a lot, but he took quite a bit of curb in the middle of that corner. Again, a little bit conservative on the usage of the exit curbs. Now keeping it in a hot lap, but I think he's drained his battery just a little bit too early. He's gonna be below 10%, he's gonna be losing engine power because of that. Nevertheless, he was up. The car doesn't seem very happy at the chicane. It looks like it wanted to snap just a little bit, but he kept it under control. He's gonna be out of deployment, but it will still see him ahead of 11 other people for the moment. That was a nice improvement there. We got Puko on a lap. It might be his last of qualifying, or if it is successful, it will be his last of qualifying, because there is no way he can make it back around. If he thinks that it is not good enough, he can still abandon it now and jump into the pits, and he can probably make it out for another one. But if he finishes this lap, it's gonna be his last one. So as you can see, he is currently 20 thousandths behind Rapid, and the next people are a second ahead of the pair of them. So probably P3 is the highest position that Puko can hope for, and he is tracking very nicely to take that position. He's half a second up, so he's gonna be basically halfway between Who Am I and Rapid in terms of lap time if he keeps this up to the final sector, and I think he will keep this up to the final sector. The deployment is out, but he finds another 20 odd thousandths, and Puko currently in the round of his own, half a second to the car in front, half a second ahead of the car behind. People are going to be heading out of the final runs now, just keeping an eye on Ben, but I think that lap that we saw that we were on board with him for, I think that was his last lap as well, just like for Puko. I mean, it's looking tight for him. I'm just gonna check the tire usage. He hasn't used a third set, but I think time is gonna be the main problem, not the amount of tires that he has. We got Who Am I about to start his lap, which is quite early. I'm used to front runners really leaving it late. He's actually gonna come back across the line, and the quali is still not gonna be over. So this is quite early to start the final lap. But we'll stay on board with the McLaren, who, as I said, is substituting for Tomko Prof. So that chassis is clearly used to quick drivers at this point. Who Am I keeping it in 6th gear down to 5th, trying to keep it flat out through the curves, because you can't do it really, you have to lift, especially if you are in medium deployment. Back on battery through the download curve as he heads towards the Degners. First sector finished, 1.5 tenths up almost exactly. Through Degner 2 better tires, so yeah, he agreed with me that he wasn't gonna make it back around, or just didn't want to use those final tires. Down to 2nd gear, so I think this is a lower gear than we've seen Who Am I take that hairpin in before. Now to this curved section, which kind of feels like a straight, but really is just corners chained together. Into Spoon, sending it in 6th gear down to 5th, using all the track that he can in the middle of the corner. Now on the exit again, using all the curves that he has available there to the right hand side. He's gonna be using battery, he's barreling down the back straight. We'll see if he is improving. He's actually lost a bit of time, he's only just over a 10th up. At this pace he will not supplant engine, and hopefully he doesn't get distracted by this Ferrari ahead. 2nd gear, so once again low gear usage there. He's gonna squeeze himself nearly into the wall to get the most out of it, but it's not gonna be enough. He's gonna end up half a second, half a tenth that is, behind engine. And you know, I almost would feel comfortable calling it now that engine has just got pole, but you never really know in racing. We got a Ferrari coming to the start-finish line, but I think he's slowed down, so I don't think he's gonna do anything. We got the Haas of Rassi crossing the line now, but he's gonna pit actually. We got the McLaren of Josh heading towards the line as well. We are now staying on board with Reza. We'll see what he has to say about the battle for the balance of the top 3. Can he take 3rd? I don't think he will with taking that chicane like that. He's also clipped grass on the exit, and he is not on the right hand side of the track, so he wasn't making the most of that. Engine improves, engine goes 26.5, and I don't think anyone will be beating the Season 5 champion. Alex Hendricks has invalidated Chichi, is at the final chicane right now for Visa. His teammate crossing the line just ahead of him there. Rapid improves, but not enough to beat Puko. Chichi, 3.5 tests of improvement. He slots in 2 positions behind his teammate. We got Panda out of the final chicane. Let's see what he can do. He's gonna be actually in P5. So Panda continuing his good form that he began a run off with a P2 finish last week after fewer decisions, and he's gonna just put those visas just that much further apart than they were initially. So that is it for qualifying. There's a nice lap that Panda managed at the end. He was looking for about P10 area, and then when the track was at its grippiest, he just proceeded to find half a second and slotted into P5. Only 18 thousandths actually of a second ahead of Reza. And it's close all the way from P4 to kind of P9 really. You could even make a case for P3 to P10 being all really close. But you can see the big gap that the top two have on the rest of the field. Apart from Spartan, who, as we've covered multiple times before, he's still learning the game. Apart from him, no one really too far off. Although 3 seconds separating the field is still more than we see usually in FLR. But that is because Suzuka is what I would call one of the few real drivers tracks left. You really have to have both, like combine both skill and knowledge to turn fast laps around here, which is gonna be even more important in race trim. And now we're just gonna take our customary 5-minute break. So I'm just gonna take that opportunity to save my voice. In terms of weather, we see that the clouds have kind of receded. You can still see fluffy white cumulus there, but there's a lot less of them than in quali, and I think we're gonna be in for a dry race. And we're off for the formation lap. So let's see what tires everyone has chosen. By the way, shout out to everyone for not starting early and following Ian's instructions, especially Buko, who has only just read the rules, if he did that at all. Engine is on mediums, which is the dominant choice. Actually, it's much more straightforward for everyone than it was last week. We got Who Am I on hards. Then we got basically 9 of the top 11 on mediums. And the other hard runners we have Nimra and the last 2 people, Barnett and Spartan. I think this is quite interesting because I definitely remember when we raced here in November, hards were the dominant tire to start with, because Japan, because of the compounds it uses, is one of the tracks where you can actually overcut quite well if you start on hards, because for a while they get better and only then they start to fall off. So it's interesting that everyone has turned to mediums this time around, but maybe they know something I don't. We also got Chichi, who is the biggest outlier because he is on softs. And Chichi enjoys these kind of strategies. I mean, personally, I just don't like the softs on this game. Regardless of the track, they're just the worst race tire out of the 3 compounds that are available. But for some reason, Chichi makes those strategies work, and just goes on them. But if you want to start on soft somewhere, probably Japan is one of the best tracks for that, because not only the compounds aren't that soft, it's not really a high deck track. I mean, it is, but not on all 4 tires. So you're always gonna have some healthy tires that are gonna get you some good grip at least, even quite far into the stint. Everyone is almost lined up. We only got Nimra, who has fallen back a little bit. And we'll see the lights go on and out. You can see the crowd there in the background with all their national flags. The lights are coming on. We got 3, we got 4, and we got 5, and the lights are out. It was a much longer haul than in real life at Australia, but engine is away. There's a little bit of ghosting, which is usually the case with those stars. Engine leads clean away. Not really any contest from Who Am I. I don't know if that was a bird or if someone's end plate has gone into space already. We got engine leading from Who Am I, from Puko, then next comes Rapid, then next comes Reza, and Chichi has used those softs to make up a place on the Merc. The Williams of Nimra, I believe, has gone wide onto the dirt. Chichi trying to make a move, and Chichi goes over into the dirt as well. We also got the Haas exploring that same off-track part and almost losing it on the curb. So the Haas is, or the second Haas in any case, is quite off a kind of scrappy first lap. Actually, Chichi didn't even start behind the Merc, I don't believe. He started behind Panda, so the Merc overtook him earlier on that lap, and then Chichi passed him back, and Panda, I think, had a bad getaway and lost places immediately, and he was behind both of them for all of that exchange. And indeed, Panda has lost 3 places, so not the start that the Ferrari man would have wanted. You got Alex Hendricks looking for a dive up the inside of Chichi, but he decides better of it. Obviously, Chichi is gonna be at his best right now for maybe 3 or 4 laps, and then is gonna start to tilt towards the medium runners. Now, we got quite some excitement last week, but we shouldn't be getting used to that because street tracks are a lot different than natural road courses. So we're just watching everyone just circulate right now. Obviously, someone's just gone off into the dirt again. I wonder if that was Chi-Chi once more. And we got, actually in the background, we got Ben going for a move on Panda. Obviously, those guys have raced each other for about 5 years at least, if not longer than that. So they know each other, how the other races. We're just waiting for the camera to pick them up again, and there they are again. Panda has now regained the place. This was a good attempt from Ben. He almost got that move done. I think Panda running more downforce, so he got a better exit out of that hairpin. And Ben, despite his super low wings, he couldn't respond to that. But Panda is on the verge of losing DRS. It briefly blinked over 1 second, but I think he's gonna be fine this time around. Engine says the fastest lap, and Engine has steered to a mile by 1.8 seconds. Obviously, these two leading guys are on different strategies. We got a problem for Nimra at the spoon curve, or at the end of the spoon curve, and Ben uses those low wings to make a move. We also got Reza side by side with Rapid, and Reza squeezes by, so that is quite an unorthodox place to make a move there into the 10-3 section. So I do applaud him for that. And the leading Haas is now up into the P4. We got another yellow flag, and that has got something to do with Ian and Buko at the exit of the pits. And these guys were in the pits indeed. So maybe the end plate that I saw at the start belonged to one of them before it went into space. Spartan has fallen off a little bit of this chain. Nimra has another issue. He's going rallying in sector 1. And I don't know if he's having, if it's just luck again, I'm just having a visual glitch, or if he's having some kind of issue with his wheel. He almost hits the wall, turns away from it at the last moment, and he's not gonna slide backwards. I don't really know what is going on here. I mean, he's clearly trying to lay down too much power while his tires are still completely dirty, and he's not even back on track where he tries to put down that much power. Rapid has regained the position on Reza, but they have lost time to Puko. Nimra is now using all the curbs that he can, even the ones you really shouldn't use too much. Now into the hairpin, he's just gone into grass again. And he's just gonna just about avoid the wall again, just about graze the barrier with his right front. And if he's been driving like this all this time, then I'm not surprised I saw all those caution flags that I thought were just phantom yellows, but they were real yellows. He's just gone off track again. It appears that he's missing both end plates, which would explain some of those moments, but not really all of them. No, actually he's missing only one end plate. He's only missing the left end plate, so I don't really understand. That seemed like luck, but that seemed like real loss of control. He's gonna be lapped in a minute, or make it at 10 seconds to be lapped. And he's retired straight away. So I don't know. I mean, about the only explanation that I would accept would be something like a rear wing damage to make him drive like that. I mean, just not having a left end plate doesn't do all that. Reza has passed Rapid again, so these guys have been going back and forth in P4, P5. And Alex Hendricks is clinging onto the back of them. Chi-Chi is losing places. Obviously those stuffs are going to be going off now. And he's pulling back into the clutches of Ben and Panda. Obviously Chi-Chi passed Panda straight after the start. But Panda looking to climb back up the order soon. There were some pieces of styrofoam just flying about there. Hendricks currently controlling this race. But then again, I don't think Who Am I is getting too nervous. He knows the strategy he's running. He starts on those cars quite often. And he hasn't really lost a feature race yet in FLR. So he knows what he's doing. And he usually doesn't get too preoccupied with medium runners on the start. As you can see, Puko, until now, he was clinging onto the back of Who Am I and was in his DRS. But he wasn't really threatening him. Who Am I was just able to master enough pace to remain unchallenged, and now Puko is dropping off the back of him, but the DRS has proven helpful because he has almost 4 seconds in hand over Rapid. I don't know if Reza had a moment or if he just had a worse lap, but he has fallen behind Alex Hendricks, and when that happened, they both lost DRS to Rapid. In midfield land, the closest battle right now appears to be between Barnett and Mahon. See Mahon looking to finally score some points for Alpine. I mean, I don't think I have to remind you that Alpine still doesn't have any points, because Mahon last week was the first driver who was even eligible to score points for them, and he unfortunately was the first DNF of that race. So maybe he will bring home some points for the French Toast team this time around. Barnett was a little bit shaky on that back half of the circuit. When we were facing backwards with him, you could see that his tire was quite coated in grass. Ben makes his move on Chichi, and that's going to be heading down towards turn 1. Another thing that's going to happen heading down into turn 1 is going to be Mahon on Barnard, but he's going to slow down just a little bit, and Barnard actually is going to tap him slightly. We've also got a spin, and that is actually the other Alpine of Buko, who has been lapped by almost everyone already. He has made 2 stops as well in this race, and he's currently on softs, which won't take him to the end of the race, so he's going to be stopping at least 3 times. And I don't really know what he's been up to. Maybe he has rear wing damage like Nimra had, but again, I don't know. We're just going to have a quick check-in with the Alpine. See, it looks like the cars of the Alpines. Again, I don't know if Buko is full-time or just reserving for us, but it seems to be a trend that Alpines usually don't do great unless it's Who Am I reserving in one of them. And Puko actually has overtaken Who Am I, speaking of Who Am I, which is quite interesting to me because he was falling away from Who Am I the last time we saw him. Engine comes in, so he's either too stopping or he's going to be planning to do 20 laps on hards, which might be a bit of a challenge. Who Am I zooms past Puko, so that reversal of places did not last long. And now they are back in the same order they were in for the rest of the race. So I don't know what happened to place Who Am I behind Puko, but now with engine in the pits, Who Am I is going to be the official race leader at the end of this lap. And now it's up to him to perform the overcut that I said before is possible. Again, it's not easy or anything. Puko has also pit and quit, so the return didn't last long. So yeah, there's gonna be 2 people with points deductions. Oh, rear wing damage. Yeah, then there's gonna be no points deduction for if there was rear wing damage. Yeah, that is very unfortunate. I did think that was what could have been going on with the spin you had before. So yeah, that is really unfortunate. Now, as we've made it back around another lap, we'll see if the strategy, if the strategy that engine is on is the majority strategy, and it doesn't appear like it is. I think engine is legitimately going for a two-stop because everyone else on mediums is staying out on this lap as well, just like they did on the lap before. And Chichi is gonna come in, so it's interesting that Chichi has made it around one more lap on softs than engine has had on mediums. And Chichi's gonna be in, and he's gonna go into medium, so it is a confirmed two-stop for Chichi, and a possible two-stop for engine. Speaking of engine, he has made up a position on Rusty, and he's currently approaching the McLaren of Josh. And then up next he has Panda, then Ben, and then a little bit of Clean Air. So we'll keep an eye on the Season 5 champion to see how he manages. Obviously, Who Am I is not really his direct rival. I mean, he is his rival for the race win, but he doesn't need to. Like, he doesn't have an objective of beating him. Engine's whole objective, as he just wraps wheels a little bit with Josh there, Engine's whole objective is to gain points on Tom, who is absent. Because they are fighting for the Drivers' Championship. And Puka, to his credit, is continuing to stay on the back of Who Am I, whose starts will only be getting better lap by lap. And I think Puka is about to lose DRS to Who Am I again. Who Am I is now 1.1 seconds ahead, and is only gonna get further away as they make their way through the S-curves. Josh in the pits, so that's about on the edge of where you can do a comfortable one-stopper, and that should be hard for the second McLaren. Alex Hendricks currently on the back of Reza, and Rapid has escaped a little bit up the road from the pair of them. Alex Hendricks just holding station for now. You can see he's not deploying his battery at all, just keeping it in medium deployment all the way around the lap. On the other hand, Reza is deploying his arsenal, and he's running low. He's gonna get below 10% on this back straight, I think. And Alex Hendrick actually becomes the first person to pick up a 3-second time penalty, so I don't think he is as comfortable as I initially thought. And Reza is indeed below 10%, which is indicated by the flashing light you can see below his rear wing there. So he was losing engine power down the back straight. Speaking of engine power, engine has engine power, and he gets past Panda, I think rather robustly there. Or maybe Panda just ran off by himself at 130R. But engine makes his way past the Ferrari, and now his next target is gonna be Ben. So engine will be hoping to maybe get past him heading out of the second Wagner. I think that would be optimal for his race. Rusty and Mahan in the pits, and that should be hard orders for both of these drivers. Josh moves up ahead of both of them, and Engine is not close enough to Ben to make a move out of the second Wagner, but he should be close enough to at least attempt an overtake out of the hairpin. We got another yellow flag, which it's at least the second time that I've seen that happen when someone comes out of the pits. So I don't know what kind of things are going on that pit exit today. And Engine, once again, not launching an assault out of the hairpin. Once again, he wasn't not close enough. He's now getting affected by the dirty air, so I think he's just gonna wait out for DRS, or he's gonna do the thing he did to Panda and just go for the move before 130R. But we've heard from Ian about Ben's low wings, so he could actually fight Engine here, but he doesn't. He fully backs out of it and lets him go into 130R. And Engine is gonna be well ahead of the Red Bull and out of the chicane and clean away. But Ben is gonna get some tasty DRS there. He is below 10% battery, so he's not gonna be able to deploy enough to re-challenge engine, but that was a nice boost for him in his own race. I think the people on the starting mediums are gonna be looking to pit around this time, the ones who haven't yet. We got Barnes in the pits on hards, so I think there's a 2-stop. Unless he takes mediums longer than the hards, which again, I've seen some people run such strategies, not on this game in particular, but just in my years of playing these games. Got Ian on the back of Mahon, the fight for the wooden spoon. Mahon just a little bit shaky at the start of the S-curves. But of course, with the dirty air here, Ian is not going to be able to make an inroad. We'll see if any of the front runners from mediums take the opportunity to pit this time by. Into the chicane goes Puko. And we'll see if he peels off to the right hand side, and he does. We'll also see if Rapid does the same. You can see some minor graining on the right front tire of the Visa, but Rapid continues on. Alex Hendricks is in and Reza is in, so these two have reverse positions at some point. I wasn't looking. Ben continues to stay out, which is, well, expected of him. Ben is known around these parts as the tire whisperer. Chichi has already stopped, so he's not. So this round of stops doesn't apply to him. And on the starting tires, we've only got Ben, Rapid, and Who Am I left. And yeah, basically just those three. And also Spartan. So Spartan doesn't really feature at the front or in the upper midfield, but he usually features towards the top of the list of least pit stops done, because he usually tries to eke it out for a one-stopper, even on tracks with high degradation. So you would have to think that he's going to do a one-stopper as well, with Japan being rather medium or even low degradation track. Engine continues to tick off laps. Rapid now in the pits. And Engine, if he is really on a two-stopper, he's gonna be left with about 14 seconds. 14 and a half seconds it is right now to catch up to Who Am I. And that's gonna need to happen in 14 laps. So he's got quite the task ahead of him. Puko is comfortably in P3, quite the ways ahead of Rapid, and Rapid himself is quite the ways ahead of Alex Hendricks. Alex Hendricks comes out ahead of Chichi, so that's gonna be good for his race. And it's not gonna be so good for Reza, who comes out, or rather, who finds himself right now directly in the dirty air of Chichi. Because Chichi still has to stop again, Reza doesn't really have to, but he would probably like to keep hold of Alex's DRS. Because see Josh trying to make a move on Spartan, trying to go down the inside of the hairpin. Spartan locks up and is gonna go wide. He doesn't clip the grass, but that washed him completely off the racing line, and he's gonna just move over and let his teammate pass as well immediately. So quite a nice show of sportsmanship there from Spartan. I was gonna quickly check something. Where's the thing? Okay, everything's fine. So Reza on the back of Chichi, and he's close enough, I think, to go for a move, unless Chichi is running ridiculously low wings. The house is gonna close down the main straight. But it's gonna catch Chichi fully quite late in the straight, and there's gonna be contact there. Chichi actually hitting the diffuser with the right side of his front wing. Hopefully no damage for the Visa. But I think the house is just gonna drive away down the track right now, with how much pressure his tires are. And indeed, he's immediately opened up some air between himself and Chichi. And he's also set a purple first sector, which actually chucks, considering how much of a tow he got. Ben running a little bit wide onto that curb, but his car didn't get beached. He's currently in pursuit of Josh, the McLaren, but not quite in his DRS right now. Actually, no one else even has a chance of getting DRS, but Ben will surely get DRS because Josh took too much of the curb and had to run briefly off track, and this should be an easy pass for Welsh Benjamin, provided that he sets it up nicely. You see he is looking to the right side of the track there, just trying to show Josh that he's there. And actually he hasn't managed to get the best exit, and Josh will have battery to defend with, which he promptly does. But Ben will catch him at the end of the straight, and is he gonna sweep clean around the outside of turn 1 and 2? He will. Nice move there, and in fact nice racing from both of them. They're still side by side, kind of. Not anymore, but nice racing from both of these guys. Obviously both involved in FLR basically since we launched 4 years ago. And have now reversed their positions. Everywhere else the gaps are bigger. Spartan now makes what should be his only stop of the race. We're going to now run on board with our owner for not really any good reason at all. It's just Ian going around the track by himself. But then again, there's not much more interesting things happening. Panda should be in the DRS range of Josh, because Josh is not using his battery right now. Even though he has a lot of it, he is not really opposed to Panda getting in his DRS, it would seem. But Panda is not going to be close enough right now to strike. Chichi makes his second pit stop. Panda is gaining on Josh. He's actually gaining quite a lot in the slipstream, but he got below 10% and was losing engine power down the straight. So wasn't able to make anything happen into turn 1. We might be getting another person in the DRS range of someone, because Rusty is closing on Barnard's. And that also tracks because, well, his tires are a lap older than Barnard's. He does have the advantage in terms of the compound. And maybe the most crucial stop of the race is happening right now. Who am I going into the McLaren pit? It should be a nice clean stop, and indeed it is, and the orange car pulls away, and he's not going to be on the fresh mediums. He will fall behind Puko, but he's going to be comfortably clear of Rapid. So, who am I running this overcut strategy to good effect so far? And we'll see if he can catch Engine. See, it's kind of been a trend that who am I starts on hards, and then when he moves to the softer compounds he has a tire advantage over everyone else. It kind of does seem to be his style. And both the McLarens actually pitting on the same lap, but I think Wemai was far enough ahead that Josh is not going to be affected by the dodgy double stack mechanics. And he's going to be away in P13 only ahead of Ian and Spartan, but just like his teammate, he's going to have a decent tire advantage for the rest of the race. And as I was saying, it does kind of appear to be Wemai's style to be running people down. He did a similar thing in Mexico, and then again at China when he immediately knew that he was going for a two-stop and just ran people down on his first stint. But for example, Tom decided too late that he was going to do a two-stop and just lost places because of it. We've got Mahal basically licking the paint on the rear wing of the Visa of Chichi. But there is quite the tire difference between the two of them. Barnes makes his second stop and unfortunately picks up a 10-second time penalty for spinning in the pit lane. I think that's the first one I've seen today. And that's just to the credit of everyone's skill here in FLR, because this speed entry is one of the trickier ones that you will find on the F1 calendar. Rapid becomes the second person to pick up a track limit penalty and the third person to pick up a penalty in general. But right now he just has enough of a buffer over Reza for that to not affect him. And Mahon has actually gone off track at Degner 1. He's taken a lot of gravel back to the track with himself. His tires are just coated in debris and just gonna lose additional ground. He does have a little bit of cleaner behind him before Josh gets into range, but as Wemai now makes his move on Puko. It was a clean move. He was already ahead before they entered turn 1 and Puko couldn't really master a response. So now the real fight begins. We got 8 laps remaining and 7 seconds between Engine and Who Am I. Again, just like last week, if Engine is on a 2-stop, he needs to make the call now, but just something tells me that he is not on a 2-stop. Speaking of Engine, we're going to go on board with him just to see how his driving looks, if he's comfortable with the car or no. He's currently on the backstage in medium deployment, and Who Am I is coming at him at a rate of knots into the final chicane. You can see a little bit of graining on the right front. Mahan asks himself to the penalty this with a 3 seconds. Who Am I says the fastest lap over 29.3. And he's taken a couple of seconds out of Engine. 7 laps to go, 5 seconds to catch. And those 13 lap world halves are not going to be getting any better for Engine. Now Engine is fighting for the championship, and Who Am I is fighting to maintain his 100% feature race winning record. He's just taken another 4 tenths out of Engine just in sector 1 there basically, as Chichi makes his move past Rusty, and there was quite some tire advantage involved there. Who Am I has just taken another half a second out of Engine. It's really not looking good for the kick driver at this stage. As we know, both these two guys usually able to avoid mistakes, so I think it's just gonna be decided in a straight fight on the track. But then again, weirder things have happened in racing. Who am I has just... Did they just say who am I? Who am I has just taken another second out of engine just in a sector and a half. About sector and a half of the track. He's now gonna be below 3 seconds behind engine. And he is closing down the kick at this rate. At this stage, rather. Josh makes his move on Mahon. So Josh closed down that 8-second gap rather quickly, and Mahon is actually gonna abandon this one stop. Which I think is the correct thing to do. I don't think it really had a chance of working. And it's gonna come into the pits, and it's gonna still, I think, rejoin ahead of Ian. Ian is actually close to getting lapped by his teammate. I mean, he is on fresh stuff, so he should be able to pull away. But if I was engine, I wouldn't want to pull him for him to pull away. I would want him to give me DRS. It just depends on what Ian wants to do, and Ian has kind of been running his own race in his own world this evening. I mean, there was an incident, I believe, with Baco at the start, and I think he had to pit for damage. I don't believe he has rear wing damage, unlike Baco, so he came out better in that regard, but he hasn't been able to catch up to the fuel. And I think he's only gonna be getting... How many points do we even give for 15? I think 5 points, so he's only gonna be getting 5 points today. You can see that the McLaren of Huema is beginning to loom in the distance. And at this stage, engine might be getting nervous. He's gonna come down to skill. And also to setups. Because as I said before, I was in a similar kind of situation. Someone bearing me down on fresher tires, and I was able to hold off because of how long my wings were. But I think the tire difference was smaller. Here we have QMI not only coming on softer tires, but on ones that are 10 laps fresher, and I think he's on lower downforce as well. He's gonna go down the inside. There's not really gonna be any contact from engine. It looked really simple. That was actually much easier for QMI than I thought it was gonna be. Basically flew by engine, outbraked him, outgripped him. He never really frayed from the racing line at all, and engine just had to accept that. So who am I once again making this overcut strategy work? He's through into the right lead. Still, engine has no threat of anyone else from behind, so he's gonna pick up P2. I think unless he's really been overdriving these tires, which he usually doesn't do. He should not be getting a puncture. There should not be a repeat of last week, so I think he's gonna bring it home in P2. Obviously you always want P1, but that's still a decent gain of points on Tom, who is away. And who am I just not gonna give him any chances to get back in his DRS. As you can see, the orange rear wing just get farther and farther away into the distance. 3 laps to go as the McLaren comes across the line. We have a hairpin involving Panda, I believe, who was facing sideways, coming off of the hairpin. I think he might have got into it with Chi-Chi, and he's either forgot to turn off his ERS or his button is stuck. Either way, he is just constantly on the battery, and he's lost the position to Rassi. These two guys on similar age tires, so Panda should be able to retake this position, but he's lifting off. I think there's something wrong with his car. Yes, he's lost the left end plate. You can see it's missing completely. And Panda will be making into the pits in these late stages. What looked like a good run of form, I don't think is going to be coming to fruition, because he immediately lost places off the start, and now he's going to lose extra positions with whatever this mishap was. We will just keep watching his car. Let's see the mechanics changing the wing, bringing a new one in. And Panda should be emerging behind this battle. He's gonna have fresher tires than both of these guys, but the question remains if there are enough laps for him to catch them. Mahon has made his way past Spartan, and now he needs to drive away by 3 seconds to get the position. Which I think he will be able to do. Who Am I has now started the penultimate lap, and he has not really gone much. He has not really got much closer to Ian. So I think everyone that's gonna finish the race is gonna finish on the lead lap, unless Ian has saved a bottle for this moment. My voice is kind of dying, so it's good that we are finishing right now. Josh is coming into the DRS of Rassi. He's not gonna get it right now, but he should be within it comfortably on the next lap, which is gonna be the final lap. So it's gonna be his last opportunity to really make this move. As you can see, Josh has a 7-lap tire advantage on Rassi, so that is why he has been gaining. And in other news, something I actually haven't covered yet because of the fight for the victory, Puko is in a position to finally take his first podium in FLR, which has been coming for quite some time. He has some good chances go away by no fault of his own, but as he now starts the final lap, he is completely in control of his own result. He's only 3.2 seconds behind Engine, so it's impressive for him to stay that close to a driver of Engine's caliber for the entirety of the 50% race, and he's got almost 10 seconds in hand over Rapid. Actually, in fact, it's almost 13 because Rapid has a penalty. So it's really a mega drive from Puko today. Josh is coming up on Rusty. Rusty has saved a little bit of battery, but I think he's running higher wings than Josh. And Josh is gonna be on Rusty's outside. So that's actually quite a smart move there from Josh. He threw off Rassi so he couldn't get the entry hooked up like he perhaps wanted to. And now Josh is gonna be on the button, on the overtake button, and is gonna fly past Rassi into turn 1. No concept there from the half, but actually Josh runs a little bit wide, which gets Rassi the opportunity to sniff P9 again, but ultimately he had to accept Josh's advantage there. Now something's happened to Ian, so indeed he had a bottle in him. You can see him there ahead of his teammate. So Ian has been lapped. Who Am I is going to come across, and Who Am I with the overcut strategy secures the victory in the Japanese Grand Prix. And is going to come across the line in P2 right behind his teammate. He's going to get some valuable points. Engine actually losing quite a lot of ground in those late stages. I think he was really managing his tires to make sure that last week didn't repeat itself. Everyone is going to come across the line in due order. Puko picking up his first podium, as I was saying. Rapid and Hendrik just finishing where we can usually see them. And now we're just looking at the battle for the lucky P13, and actually Panda is gonna clip grass on the entry and is gonna drive into the back of Spartan. I think that was just a loss of concentration after a long race. He just clipped grass with his right side tires and just couldn't stop the car and drove into the diffuser of the Red Bull. And he just picked up wing damage again just after pitting to have it repaired. And Spartan is gonna have enough battery to defend for this straight, I do believe. Panda is already below 10%, Spartan is as well now. Barnes comes close down with that 10-second penalty. I don't think that's gonna affect things. And actually Panda, with the damaged wing, manages to make a move. Obviously the damaged wing was offset by the advantage, tire advantage that he had over Spartan, and he was able to make the move at the final chicane, at the last opportunity, so I was glad that I looked at that battle. JJ Ben, nice race from you as well, as it was from many people today, to be honest. We're just gonna have a look at the results, maybe, if they wanna load up. I think this is just one of those days, or actually, I was thinking they weren't gonna load in. So we see the podium there. Obviously, who am I winning again? No real surprises there. Engine in second. He was in the need of a good result. Then we got Puko picking up his first podium in FLR. Rapid, Hendricks completing the top 5. Reza, Ben, Chichi, Josh, and Lasting completing the top 10. And the remaining finishers: Barnas, Panda, Mahon, Spartan, and Ian a lap down. It's time to celebrate, everyone, because the French Toast team has finally got points on the board, which is absolutely unbelievable. I think they actually got 7 points even. I think we give 7 points for 13th, I think it is. So Alpine finally gets points on the board. It took them quite some time. And that's gonna be it. Just gonna have a quick look at where we are next. And up next we are at an F1 track, that's for sure. At Singapore. We go to Singapore next week. So there should be another exciting race. And I'll catch you there.